Huddle is an appropriate place to be there because of their story. And I want to have other folks come up and kind of talk about this great ecosystem that is not just Lincoln, but Nebraska. Nebraska is one solid ecosystem. Lincoln and Omaha and Greater Nebraska are working together in great ways. And this announcement we have today is going to be all about that. And a lot of people have made that possible. Excited for this announcement that we'll be talking about in terms of doing more for the startups in the state of Nebraska. And just checking my notes, making sure. The only thing I'd say is I think the other thing that we have here is those who have made it, those who have built successful companies. Mike Dunlap and the team at Nelnet are wise enough to realize that they need to invest in the future founders as well. So what's important, having lived abroad in Atlanta, in Boston, in other great technology ecosystems, what I noticed is they're successful because those who succeed as entrepreneurs then reinvest their earnings back into future companies. And so we have seen, Nelnet is invested in the most amount of companies a year than anyone else, I believe, in the state of Nebraska. Mike and others like him are showing everything that everyone who lives on the Great Plains knows. Great trees, giant trees never grow alone, right? So it's about reinvesting these resources back into the future. And we've got some exciting things happening. And to help us in this journey, I'd like to introduce the guy who is the founder of Enmotion and now a board member and works for Nelnet. Brian Erdinger is going to talk about the history of Enmotion and then introduce the mayor.
Thank you, Scott. I am super excited here to be talking about the evolution of Enmotion. 10 years ago, I created a t-shirt and decided to spin out this idea called a Startup Accelerator. With the idea being, we've got an amazing talent base here in Nebraska. We had started seeing some companies like HuddleNet being created. But the idea of a Startup Accelerator is like, let's get a cohort of founders at the earliest stages and surround them with the best investors and mentors and other founders and try to accelerate that process, that lonely 2 to 3 year journey that most entrepreneurs have to go through of finding a lawyer, finding an accountant, understanding what venture capital is, and put together a program that invests a little bit of capital, but more importantly, brings a community around those founders. And so that's what we decided to do with Enmotion. And I was the entrepreneur in residence at New Tech Ventures. I said, this is the project that I think Lincoln and Nebraska deserves. And then I went out and tried to make this happen. So trying to find the early adopters, people like Mike Dunlap and Invest Nebraska that said, okay, this is kind of a crazy idea, but let's give it a try. So we raised about $1 million in the first fund. Said we're going to run this for 3 years and see what happens. Over that time, we invested in 20 companies like Quantified Ag and Live By, Realm 5. There's a variety of companies that have come out of that program. And through that, it worked. We actually created some new companies. We created an ecosystem that was very prominent and growing in this whole region. And to see this evolution, it's really humbling. So once we raised the first fund, we raised the second fund, and then we wanted to get bigger and bolder. We knew that having an accelerator just in Lincoln with only Lincoln resources was foolish to try to compete against the Chicagos and the Silicon Valleys of the world. We need to be much more regional, much more global with the people that we brought together. So I knew Troy and Joe, the founders of Generator, as the early days as I was building out Enmotion. And I went to them. I saw that they were expanding to other cities. They had built relationship with Brandery, which is a top 10 accelerator in Cincinnati and some other places. And I said, hey, what would it take to come to Lincoln and help power this next generation of Enmotion? And so we did that. Generator's been a huge help to extending our reach for our local entrepreneurs and investors and giving us an opportunity to grow what we're growing. So super excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me and sticking with me at the very early stages when this was just an idea in my mind. Appreciate that. And with that, I think I'm going to introduce Mayor Leary and Gaylor Baird to give some words to us.
Brian, thank you so much for your leadership, and to everyone here. We're surrounded by so many amazing leaders who've made this moment possible, and I want to thank the Chamber, and I want to thank Huddle for hosting, and thank you to our business leaders and friends without which we would not be standing here today. And since we are here celebrating this exciting day at Huddle, I can't resist talking about football for a second. And back in the glory days of the 1990s, the Huskers always set the tone with a strong offensive line that came to be known as the pipeline. And the space that they created allowed skilled players to accelerate into the open field and make dynamic things happen for their team and the rest of our state as a result. Today, we're here to announce another kind of pipeline, and one that will increase investments in our local startups and establish a solid foundation for entrepreneurs to continue to transform and grow our city and our state. I'm thrilled to announce a new multi-million-dollar expansion of Startup Accelerator programming by Enmotion, powered by Generator. This expansion includes the creation of an Omaha office, new support for startups across the state, and $3.7 million in new investments that will launch and grow 24 Nebraska startups over the next 2 years. And as a hub of the Silicon Prairie, Lincoln celebrates Enmotion and powered by Generator and the work that they have done locally and now will do statewide to support entrepreneurs and to accelerate economic opportunity. The 24 companies that will launch and grow as a result of today's multi-million-dollar investments, they will create new jobs and demonstrate the abundant ingenuity and innovation that we are cultivating right here in Nebraska. And like any successful venture, it takes a team effort. Our city is a valuable and versatile teammate in the effort. Our strategic public sector investments in safety and streets and housing and urban development, parks and trails make Lincoln one of the best cities in the country for young professionals. And speaking of rankings, we are on the heels of a number one year for local startups. In 2021, Lincoln firms raised nearly $300 million in venture capital. And not only was that the most for 1 year by Lincoln firms, it was a record high for the state. And while numbers are important, so too is community. And I was reminded of this yesterday when I read a story in the paper about the over 900 Huddle employees in Lincoln this week gathered for the largest company gathering in their history. A gathering that includes 272 employees who live outside the U.S. And one of them is a senior product director who lives and works in London. And she said, everyone being in Lincoln together at Huddle's headquarters, quote, brings your heart and mind together. Well, the expansion that we're celebrating today will bring hearts and minds together. And like the Husker pipeline of yesteryear, it will open up new spaces for entrepreneurs to thrive here. And ultimately, these are spaces where young people, we will get more young talent into the startup game and make a play for Lincoln's brighter future. So congratulations to every single person involved in making this happen today. We're so excited about this exciting expansion. And please give another round of applause for this remarkable announcement.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone. I'm Maggie Brickerman. I am one of the partners from Generator. You can probably tell from the way I talk that I'm from Wisconsin. So I'm really grateful to be here and very excited to see so many friends in the audience. As Brian mentioned, this has been a really special partnership, a friendship, I would say, since the beginning, but for the last 3 years, a really formal partnership. I think we share that commitment to investing in our best and brightest, working as a region and a country, not competing with each other, but as you said, competing with these zip codes that have really locked up venture capital for so long. And so it's been really amazing to work together, and we're every day, I'm so grateful to have Scott Henderson at the helm, hometown boy. Yeah! And just bringing all of his knowledge and experiences and networks from his international travels, as he says. So I will keep it short because we have many people to speak, but I wanted to share two things as an outsider, not from Wisconsin. So Generator is a nationally ranked startup accelerator and venture fund. We operate in 16 states, 40 some cities. Honestly, it grows every day. We're doing a lot of growth, which is amazing. The unique thing about the places that we're in is that they're not major metros, and we really have this belief that if we focus on bringing more investment across race and place and gender, we can unlock that power of venture capital for the entire country. I will tell you that, again, from being in all these cities, it is very rare that two cities 45 minutes apart would come together, the leaders of those cities, to make this investment collectively in the future of startups in the state. Very rare. So that is a really special thing. And for me, that's really what I'm celebrating today, is the kind of that cohesion and that focus as a region. So as Scott mentioned, one of the things that we do, particularly in Lincoln, is start new companies from scratch. So he talked about Luke, he talked about Dusty, Teresa's here, Mac is here, we have a ton, Jordan's here, we have a ton of founders who did not have a company last year that through the support of this investment ideated and really found a high octane idea. And with Scott and TJ and the team's help have been growing that completely from scratch. So with this expansion, Generator, kind of our platform as a whole, will be building more companies from scratch in Nebraska over the next 2 years than anywhere else in the country. So that's really special. So everyone has mentioned Huddle, and I'll give you my perspective. So I stayed at the Graduate last night. I got on the elevator this morning, and we're stopping at every floor, and it's like Huddle t-shirt, Huddle name tag, Huddle, Huddle, Huddle. I'm walking down the street, and I was like, okay, something's going on. And so for those of you who live here, I know you're like, who are all these people making it take longer to get coffee? But that is why we get up every day. So that was a company of 2 or 3 people and just kind of a pipe dream. And Brian and people who were involved in the early days, my analogy is Bright Sellers, which is a company in Milwaukee. You walk in their office and hundreds of people work there and they have no idea who you are. And they're like, who's this lady stealing our snacks? But it's that job creation from people who really have, to them, it's just a giant, really exciting company to work at. To us, it's just a really special privilege to be there at the very beginning. The thing that I want to drive home, because I think as you think about economic development, the people that work at this company worked somewhere else before. So when you create that new job, you're opening up a slot for somebody else to fill in. So if you are now making a $65,000 salary and you are working at a $20 an hour job, that lets someone else move up who was making $15 an hour before. So that's really what this net new job creation means for economic development as a whole, beyond just the individual founders. And we love you, and we want to see you create wealth and jobs too. So thanks for having us. This is a really special day, and congratulations to everyone. Hold on, I have to say one other thing. Because the mayor brought up football, Scott wrote some notes for me, and he wanted me at the end to say, "Go Big Red." But I, as a lifelong Badger, thought that was a little too ambiguous. So I'm not going to say it.
Go Big Ten.
Go Big Ten. We can agree on that, right? Go Big Ten. All right, so one of the long-standing partners is the Lincoln Partnership of Economic Development. So Luke Peltz is coming up here and share some of the thoughts and ideas of how private-public sector come together.
First off, what an exciting day this is. And on behalf of the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development, we're excited to be a part of it. The startup ecosystem in Lincoln is strong, and that is due to all the partners that are here with us today. We want to continue to build on that and produce more success stories right here in our backyard. The success we've had to this point is why peer communities across the country look to Lincoln to see what we're doing and what we're going to be doing in the future. The work of Enmotion continues to cultivate and develop relationships that pave the way for continued success, leading to ongoing achievements and progress of early stage startups. We have seen how companies have started their journey in Lincoln, matured, and gained access to critical mentorships, support, and investment. Whether it's Noble, Live By, Company Cam, Basic Block, or many others who are starting to realize their dreams of growing a business in Lincoln. As we have seen with the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development programs called Launch LNK and Jumpstart Challenge, companies that receive mentorship and other benefits that Enmotion provides makes an impact on the growth of the startup. The Accelerator programs are vital to the development of these businesses as they make the jump from an idea to an actual company poised for growth. Enmotion's expanded programming and investment is one more tool we have in Lincoln and now in Omaha and greater Nebraska to encourage and develop these startups to become the next big success story. The startup ecosystem in Lincoln will remain strong because of all the partners that are investing in the region. And we look forward to seeing what is next from Enmotion. And once again, thank you. Thank all of you for making the investment in the startup ecosystem and the communities and the statewide community. Thank you.
All right, another long-standing partner of Enmotion and Generator has been the University of Nebraska system and the University of Nebraska Lincoln campus. And so representing University President Ted Carter will be Catherine Lang, the special liaison to the president.
Thank you, Scott, and good morning to everyone here. I'm Kathy Lang, and I'm the State Director for the Nebraska Business Development Center, a center of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I'm also the President of the University Technology Development Corporation. I'm honored to be here today representing Ted Carter, President of the University of Nebraska. Entrepreneurship is not an abstract concept. Entrepreneurship represents real people starting and growing business, large and small, technology companies, Main Street businesses, all across Nebraska. Entrepreneurs like David, Brian, and John, the founders of Huddle. Entrepreneurs see a solution to a problem or a new product or service that creates an opportunity. They develop the solution and find a customer that wants that solution. At that moment, one of the most important economic opportunities occurs. A business is created. But it takes countless hours, sleepless nights, perseverance to turn that idea into a successful business. And no one goes it alone. The entrepreneur is supported by family and friends, by a team of talented people that travel with them on that journey, and by mentors who provide advice, counsel, and wisdom to see the way forward as the entrepreneur develops and grows their business. David, Brian, and John, we congratulate and celebrate you for your well-deserved success, and we know that you, along with Enmotion, are going to be planting a very fertile ground, developing a very fertile ground for those next entrepreneurs. We know that entrepreneurship and business development is the most important economic development strategy for Nebraska. Entrepreneurs create jobs and build businesses that are part of creating the kind of communities where people want to live. The university is a foundational partner supporting entrepreneurs across Nebraska, from developing the skills students need to create innovative products or run a business, and creating talented students who, when they leave the university, are the talent needed by our entrepreneurs to run a successful business. The university supports research, creating new innovations and technology to help the world be a better place and to bring those innovations to the marketplace and become businesses in Nebraska. And the university supports programs like the Nebraska Business Development Center, where we work with entrepreneurs and business owners to start and grow their business, expand markets for their products, and support innovation of small business. We also support the Nebraska economic development ecosystem by partnering and connecting our partners together to support the creation of business. The university is a strong supporter of entrepreneurship across Nebraska. And to Enmotion, we pledge our support and partnership working with you to build an economically vibrant Nebraska.
All right, keeping on the university tip, representing the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Chancellor Green will be the Executive Director of the Nebraska Innovation Campus, Dan Duncan, and board member.
Thanks, Scott. It's my pleasure to be here representing Chancellor Green. He sends his regrets. He's off raising money, and hopefully some of that money will be for something I want to do on Nebraska Innovation Campus. So happy to step in for him. You know, UNL is about creating opportunity. You know, teaching students, developing entrepreneurship programs, all kinds of different things that provide a foundational activity that allow people the knowledge and skills and intellectual property to develop companies and benefit from programs like we heard announced today. We're an institution that believes in entrepreneurship. We believe in the power of startups. You know, I've been around long enough that I remember when David Conrad hired Brian Erdinger, and I said, well, what are you going to do? His title was actually Entrepreneur in Residence. And I think Brian's main function was to make sure that title didn't stick, right, Brian? But he said, you know, if we're going to do this, this can't be about the university. Even though the university's starting this has to be broader than the university. And so Enmotion was born. The university didn't put its label on it. And we work really, really hard at UNL to be part of the ecosystem and not try to be the ecosystem. So partnerships is what drives everything we do. One of the greatest embodiments of our partnerships with the community is Nebraska Innovation Campus. We're very, very excited. We'll be celebrating our 10th year of existence this November. But we provide background opportunities for companies that can actually get into Enmotion. So New Tech Ventures leads our licensing efforts. University faculty at UNL have the last 4 years been rated in the top 100 research institutions globally in the number of patents developed. Well, think about that. You know, we're a small state, small population, not a really large university. So that's very, very significant, and that provides a lot of the intellectual background to form companies from, right? We also run several things. We hosted the virtual Deep Tech U Seminar last year. 48 research universities and laboratories around the country came together virtually and highlighted companies. Some of the Nebraska-based companies that were highlighted, Drone Amplified, which uses drones to fight wildfires by doing backfires. Symbiotic Health, which takes pre and probiotics, combines them into a product for gut health. Virtual Incision, a surgical robotic company that I think you're going to be hearing more and more about. And then Epicrop Technologies, one that you probably haven't heard of, but is doing plant breeding at the epigenetic level, which is a very novel approach for plant diversity. We also are the home at Innovation Campus to several startup activities, places for startups to really become companies. So we have the only wet lab incubator in the state in the Biotech Connector. Invest Nebraska runs the Combine. Dan Hoffman's talking to you next, so I'm not going to talk a lot about that. We have the Sweet Spot, where food companies and our food processing faculty can come together, office in a facility, work in our food processing labs, and create new products. And we have the Landing co-working space, our newest area. That's a place for pre-funded faculty and graduate students to start companies. We graduated our first company out of there with SBIR funding a couple of weeks ago, so we're very excited about that. And then, of course, we have Nebraska Innovation Studio, which a lot of our startups have taken advantage of to actually prototype their activities. So in closing, I just want to congratulate the partnership that we've had with Enmotion, the partnership that we created with Generator, and really look forward to seeing the expansion of the program on a statewide basis.
I'd write you a check. You should get. Chances are green should put you on the road. Good stuff. All right. Now, I want to shift over to kind of the gradation of the private sector perspective, because what's key here, and this is what I believe that makes Nebraska unique, is the strength of the private-public partnerships, not only in Lincoln, but between Lincoln and Omaha and across the state with individuals and organizations and companies. And so one of the key catalysts, thanks to the legislature's wisdom of passing a bill for the Business Innovation Act, it helped create the Invest Nebraska, and who's been our largest investment partner throughout this. So I want to invite Dan, the man, Dan Duncan up here. Sorry. I'll give you the proper. Dan Duncan from Invest Nebraska. Hoffman, sorry. Dan Hoffman. I love you, Dan. I really do. There's too many Tylers and Dans in the room. Dan Hoffman, Invest Nebraska. Sorry.
Thank you. My name is Dan Hoffman, the CEO of Invest Nebraska. I'm joined by Ben Williamson, my colleague, who's back there in the t-shirt. Invest Nebraska, we're a venture development nonprofit organization that partners with the Nebraska Department of Economic to do really three things: assist entrepreneurs, help develop entrepreneurship ecosystems, building infrastructure, and then lastly, actually investing in startups in Nebraska. And as Brian mentioned, in 2013, he came to us with this idea and said, hey, I want to do this accelerator. I've got some funds lined up from Nelnet and from some Nebraska Angels. Would you guys co-invest alongside us for 3 years? And so we took it to our board. Our board's like, well, this is something unique because these companies, they don't have any ideas. They're just entrepreneurs. How do we know? How can we vet? How can we do due diligence? And we said, well, let's just try it for 3 years and see what happens. 3 years later, Brian came back and said, well, hey, I want to do it for another 3 years. And by that time, we were like, well, things seem to be moving well. Let's sign up for another 3 years. And now, 9 years later, from 2013, when we look at the 46 companies that have gone through Enmotion, 39% of those companies were led by underserved founders or CEOs. Check that box. When you look at how many companies then raised outside capital, 10 rise to that higher level of actually going out and raising capital. And today that capital, as the end of December 31st, 2021, was around $30 million. And most of that were from venture capital funds that invested outside of Nebraska to invest in the companies that went through Enmotion. And so we're extremely excited when Scott called up and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this growth accelerator in Omaha and venture studio in Lincoln, but kind of doubling the number of companies. So we'll do 24 over the next 2 years. Are you guys in? It was, Ben and I talked about it. It was like a no-brainer for us. By creating that pipeline, as the mayor referenced, we are just starting this flywheel of new startups in Nebraska. And so we're extremely excited to see what these next 2 years leads to, but we appreciate the vision of Bright Erdinger, the Godfather, and we are excited to see the Godfather 2 sequel with Scott Henderson moving forward. So, thank you.
Dan Hoffman, Invest Nebraska, the true Godfather. He's quiet. He's in the background. All right, so I have already name-checked him once, but it's great to actually have him to agree to come to the podium. If we get 2 minutes out of him, I'll be shocked, but this guy is the example and the epitome of a Nebraska entrepreneur, comes from a family that has been a great business leadership family, creating great companies, Union Bank and Trust, and had this idea of this arbitrage on student loan processing. And look at that, publicly traded company that's now investing in other large, growing, high-growth companies. Mike Dunlap is coming up here to talk from his perspective as an investor and an entrepreneur.
Nelnet's guiding values have always been customers number one, create a great place for our associates to work in, an environment to work in, diversify our revenue streams, have open communication, and give back to the communities we work in and work with. In a world continuing to change at an accelerating pace, the key to survival of any business is constant reinvention to help your current and future customers be successful. Attracting and retaining tech talent goes beyond any one individual company. As more tech talent concentrates in a geographic connected area, the more attractive the area becomes for everyone. Nelnet has worked with a number of businesses and individuals over the years. Just to name a few, Mike Castley and Paul Smith from Omaha, Mutual of Omaha, First National Omaha and Clark Lawrenson, Assurity, Emeritus, Nebraska Global, and Don't Panic Labs. And then Mike Castley worked hard to get the Nebraska Tech Collaborative set up with Jonna Van Doon. And so all those things have really, really added to the whole environment over the last 15 years to help angel and VC companies in our region accomplish this goal. The more companies who work together to grow our startup and VC ecosystem, the more successful we'll all be individually and collectively. For every high-tech job that gets created, it also creates other numerous jobs for our economy. Thank you.
What I have found is there's not only Tyler's and Dan's, but a lot of Mikes, and we are very fortunate to have another Mike who's up in Omaha, Mike Casting, Sequence Health, Exarban Foundation Board of Directors, Governor, and as well as Nebraska Tech Collaborative, but he's here to represent our Omaha funders who have helped make this expansion statewide possible. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here as part of the Omaha business community to support Enmotion and Generator. First, I'd like to recognize and thank Mike Dunlap, who you've heard over and over again, and Nelnet. Mike has truly been a leader in supporting new businesses and growth startups in Lincoln and across Nebraska, and should truly be a role model for all of us. An entrepreneurial ecosystem is critical to all companies of all sizes because it helps to build a vibrant community. A vibrant business community will attract more workers and attract more businesses. That's why Omaha and Lincoln business leaders are now working together with Enmotion to build a world-class entrepreneurial ecosystem in our state. And it's just another example of the Omaha and Lincoln business communities coming together to make the state better. Many of Omaha major business leaders have been a part of this joining me to be part of this, driving this ecosystem. We have a very supportive community, not only in Omaha, but Lincoln and across the state. Our goal is to grow a community of startups and great companies like Nelnet, Huddle, and to make the Silicon Prairie an attractive home for future employees and businesses. Ultimately, and we've heard this over and over again, what truly sets Nebraska apart is the people, all of you here. Together, we build incredible businesses and solve incredible challenges. Now, we come together to build a world-class entrepreneurial ecosystem in Nebraska. Thank you, and we're excited to be part of it.
And alongside Mike has been Paul and Annette Smith, who are here. They are our Omaha anchor will be at the Millwork Commons. And Paul and Annette were reached out to us and said, what can we do to bring Enmotion and Generator into the Omaha market? And I said, I got an idea. And they stepped forward. Mike Casting stepped forward, and we made this happen. So thank you for all that. Now, I think we want to have the last speaker is our host. David Graff, the CEO of Huddle, and he's going to come up and speak about how Nebraskans created a global tech company.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. And first off, just thank you everybody for coming here to our headquarters. It's an awesome space to be in. We love it. As the mayor said, we've got about 900 Huddlies here this week, enjoying the downtown establishments. We have our meetings over at Pinnacle Bank Arena. And it's just been an awesome opportunity to showcase the city of Lincoln and the state of Nebraska, and honestly, just the great support and the folks that we've had here along our journey. So, as you heard earlier, we started officially about 16 years ago. I was working for the football team at the University of Nebraska and kind of saw firsthand some of the pain points they had, and we worked really closely with the customers, and when we graduated, officially formed the business. At the time, there was no Enmotion. We didn't have a great structured support system that we could go to help guide us along that journey. And I think it's awesome, that Lincoln and the greater state of Nebraska have that now. What we did have, and what really helped us succeed along that entire way, was an incredibly supportive community and a great group of mentors and advisors, some of whom you've heard from earlier today, both here in Lincoln and in Omaha. And I think that hasn't changed. That's been something that's only grown stronger over those 16 years that we've seen. People in Nebraska, business leaders, folks generally want to see others succeed. They truly believe in the rising tide floats all boats, and that's something that I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see the new startups that come out of Enmotion grow and hopefully get bigger than Huddle. over time, as long as we're continuing to grow along that way. I wouldn't want to go the opposite direction, but I think that's great for the community overall. I think it's great to see the investment the community leaders are making in Enmotion. Broadly, I think the leadership that you all have in place across not only Enmotion but the other entities that exist in Nebraska supporting startups is just phenomenal. So we chose to grow here. We continue to grow here because of things like that, and it's really a testament to all the work you all are doing. So again, a big thank you to everybody who's been supportive of this. Congratulations to you all on getting this across the finish line, and excited to see us all win together on this. Thank you.
All right. Well, some final thoughts here based on all the conversation. When I was contacted about thinking about moving back to Nebraska to lead Enmotion, I made it clear in my mind we have to make this a network, not a node. It cannot be a single community trying to solve this. We're competing with the world. We now know that with COVID, we're competing with the world without people having to move. So how do we create exciting jobs that get people up in the morning and bring their best self out? How do we create jobs that creates wealth? And how do we make sure that we continue to layer that wealth and help the next wave of great Nebraska companies come forward? And this today is how we're going to do it. We're working together between Omaha, Lincoln, Greater Nebraska. We've got great companies that are already growing, scaling up. Huddle, Spreetail, Company Cam down the street. We've got Builder Trend in Omaha. We've got Flywheel that sold to WP Engine. The flywheel is turning here in Nebraska, and the network will make it go faster. I'm excited to announce that we have got 179 applications, the largest application pool for a cohort. We've whittled it down to 44. We'll announce that later this month of which 6 companies will be the first part of this investment. I'm even equally excited to announce that 48% of that application pool was founders of color and 25% female founders. Woo! Exciting. In the last year and a half, I spent your money. We invested it collectively in $1 million in 10 companies. And we're putting our actions where our words are. Remember that acta non verba that was on the side of the stadium? Actions, not words. Of the $1 million we've already invested, $400,000 went to founders of color, and $300,000 went directly into female founders. We are making sure diversity from all angles is happening because biodiversity is what makes the plains and the prairie stronger. So that's what we'll continue to do. And if you would like, we will be having a ribbon cutting welcome to the neighborhood celebration at Millwork Commons on June 23rd. And the Mayor Stother from Omaha will be, and the Director of the State Economic Development, Tony Goins, will be there for our celebration. Happens to be the Thursday during College World Series, conveniently, so thank you for that. You're all invited to that. And if you are inspired by what we're saying here, I also got the Enmotion Venture Studio applications are open, and we're looking to invest in 6 new founders for this next cohort in the fall. So go to enmotion.co, find out more about what we're doing. We will have speakers available for interviews. We have been asked to pack up and get out of here by 11 o'clock because Huddle's going to keep going. The ship's leaving, the train's leaving the station, but thank you for coming out. Thank you for everyone, all of the partners that have made this possible. I feel really grateful and humbled to come back to my state of Nebraska, my beloved state, my birth city, and the city of Omaha, which my family's called home since the 1800s, and help create that next great wave of companies with all of you all. So thank you very much.